Welcome to the channel, everybody. I figured we haven't done a studio update for the salamanders I was working on as a commission for a little bit, so I decided to set up what I had painted and kind of go through it. I do want to put a disclaimer at the front here that some of these are lacking, well, the bases aren't done, are all of them, and some of them are lacking decals, and in some cases a few bits here and there because they're still being decided on by the client. But I did want to just kind of go through and just kind of show what is present. So here we go. So anyways, the client wanted to kind of go with more of a, wanted to go with the Salamander aesthetic, but also wanted to use a lot of influences from the 30K variant of the Salamanders, so Legion. And the 30K variant uses a lot of different types of variants of the Salamander's color scheme. So I wanted to play around with that, basically, kind of going through it. But this is one of those instances where it's a reverse color scheme of the Salamanders, actually. So they do the inverted color scheme where green is the secondary and the primary is black. And then the Legions used a lot of gold and bronze, I guess, in this instance. And then as well, when they did the inverted color scheme, they used the flame motifs on the sides, on the shoulder pads, to kind of add that kind of, I don't know, that flame, that ember in the background. So these aggressors are an instance of that. This was kind of a test, the fire drakes here. And I do want to say, too, that this is probably about maybe 70% of the army or so. There is a handful... Not a handful, a considerable amount that is still unpainted and still unbased and all that stuff. It's unfinished. I didn't want to put it up on the showcase so far. But this was kind of a test to kind of see about the lava effects and kind of doing some kind of minute stuff there, kind of experimenting with that with the hammers, and then playing with more of a darker aspect to the salamanders. Considering that these are kind of more of their older veterans, I was going for more of a burnished aesthetic. So the flames had actually scorched and singed the armor plates and actually caused some kind of darkening to the overall aesthetic. And I wanted that to follow with everything that it had kind of come forth with just kind of the clean-cut salamanders. So with his troops, we kind of went for more of the clean-cut, just kind of green with the black aesthetic. Wanted to kind of do a little bit of burnishing of the armor plates with some silver here and there, some touches, some highlights. Kind of show that the armor has been utilized, has beaten up. These are obviously not decaled, and the squad markings are missing, as well as the basing. But that is kind of a generic Intercessor squad right here. This is more of like the generic, their tactical line marines. And figuring that they're more of the artisans type, I wanted to kind of go with more gold in their guns, considering that they would be, they would be taking more care of their weapons, and they would view them more as relics and artifacts of a long-forgotten age, as well as producing them in bulk, so they would take more pride in the overall aesthetic of their weapons, as opposed to other chapters like, say, the Imperial Fists, or, I don't know, many other chapters that don't do as much artification of their weapons as the Salamanders say. With the Infiltrators, I was kind of going for the same kind of thing of the inverted color scheme, because I figured that darker colors make more sense for infiltration itself, and then obviously playing around with the Novitiate, which I guess no longer is an actual type of model. It's now just a Helix Gauntlet to an ordinary Infiltrator. But this was painted during the Golden Age of 8th edition, so I guess in that instance, this was actually still a thing. And you still have the Asclepius coiling serpent on the shoulder pad. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. Then he does have some Land Raiders. In 30K, these tend to proxy a lot as Spartans, but Land Raiders in general aren't the worst. I mean, they're nowhere near great for their points. Let's be just kind of plain with that. They could really use an update with their points, because they're just not as efficient. And the fact that Eradicators are just so good right now, it just makes these guys really, really awkward. Because they're kind of really hard to hide. Their weapons aren't nearly as damage dealing as they could have been. And the fact that just in general, the field is already so much shorter. And because you're trying to seize objectives in the center, you're just going to lose access to that long range so much quicker. So really, these guys are haven't been seeing a lot of play lately, but they are, well, there they are, the Salamander aesthetic. And then we kind of did the same thing with the Rhino back here. Gonna add some gold plating again to kind of highlight that artification and the fact that they take more care of their weapons, and they view them as more of a, I guess, more of a relic than the other chapters. And a Derridio, which again does not see a lot of play, particularly in this particular current edition, unfortunately, due to the fact that the weapons are glued on, and they are not thing. Although, I believe the client and I were discussing about actually removing the arms and doing magnetization to be able to actually swap those weapons out with some more prevalent weapons in 40k currently. So maybe potentially the Volkites, the Falconet Volkite weapons, or potentially the Plasma Carronades. So that is something that is in the works currently. I think the burnishing of the metal came out really nice. The fact that just like the metals just get singed by how hot these las weapons, I believe they're called the Arachnus Las Cannon Battery, get. That's kind of a cool thing. And again, kind of playing around with kind of mixed color plating. The fact that you're utilizing more blacks and kind of making the green more of a secondary color. There's a Salamander's Contemptor. That was a fun one. Another Salamander's Contemptor. And these are more of the heavy support options. There's another Rhino. There's some weapon options laying around there. There is a Salamander's more of heavy support options. This is the Scorpius, which often plays with the Castellan, let's be honest. The Scorpius is just not nearly as what it used to be. Although in 30k it sees a lot of play as a Scorpius, because the Scorpius has a P3, which is really, really good at dealing with Marines. And in addition, so heavily filled with Marines, it is kind of a thing. Again, the inverted color scheme, and I don't know if you noticed down there, there's some flame work playing around the edges, kind of the singe work. Same thing with this guy, Vindicator. Not seeing as much play as it once was. That change really did help it, but unfortunately, still kind of a little bit of a rear tier, kind of bottom tier of what it used to be. And this is kind of a recent addition to the drop pod. They are not magnetized, so the panels do come down, as you see there. The inside is missing the harnesses, and that was just basically because client wanted to be able to use it as a Dreadnought drop pod for 30k, or I guess in 40k as well. And you see there's a little heat work on the turbine there, and then the bottom, because this thing is coming down and descending in orbit very, very, very quickly, so there's some heat building up, and you see there's some edge work over there. I could have definitely gone a little bit harsher on the amount of heat that was building up on this thing, but I decided to kind of keep it a little bit more tame, because when it hits the ground and it actually hits the table, I don't know if the heat really makes sense aesthetically. That, and I think it also distracts from just the overall color scheme of that green and black. But who knows? Let me know what you think about that. Maybe I'll talk about the client with more too. Coming over here, we have another squad of tactical rings. These are Mark III types with some Salamander upgrade bits, and went with the gold trim, because again, the gold was more of a aesthetic in the 30k legions during the time period. And actually, kind of interesting note aside, I was actually kind of looking at the 30k aesthetics and kind of thinking about it a little bit, and the conclusion I kind of came down to is that the legions really were kind of in their peak and the prime of their forces, and that primacy kind of builds a certain arrogance as well as a certain kind of tradition, martial tradition within the legions themselves. And the fact that the legions were assembled and turned into these chapters at the end of the Horus Heresy, leading to the Scouring, or after the Scouring, I forget particularly when that happened, but the fact that these legions were torn apart I think it plays a huge role, and you can see it in the change in their heraldry, as where the salamanders now have more of a somber look, with the lack of with less golds, less whites, less grays in their color scheme. You know, and the oranges as well. You notice that they take on more of an autumn kind of esque aesthetic, where they're definitely in mourning for the lost martial prowess of their legion. And they're not arrogant anymore. They're kind of older and more wizened, and they see the loss of everything, and they feel it very, very, very intrinsically within their legion. And this is the aesthetic is definitely kind of an overall kind of psychological, subconscious thing that they've been doing in the changing of their heraldry, and you can definitely see it. And I mean, maybe it's not subconscious, but it's definitely something that's very prevalent in their heraldry. And so the gold being so prevalent here in 30K versus the 40K ones that I showed you, it really kind of shows the difference in kind of the age, but also kind of like their feelings on themselves as well. Salamanders being very, very, very depressing, sad people, but always trying to have the hope, bear all the sins for everyone, be hopeful for everyone. Something I do want to kind of touch on a little bit is the black skin. I know it's kind of really hard to see from here, but the black skin of the salamanders is kind of a really hard thing to approach from terms of doing something other than painting it straight black. I've done a lot of experimentations using grays and browns and other things, textures to create that the color for salamanders in general in the past. And it just in order to build up some kind of tone or some kind of variation in the color, to kind of build up that the dimensionality of it, it requires a lot of just kind of a lot of touches here and there of different colors. But it's just really interesting. It kind of shows how difficult it is. The darker the color, the more you have to do to it to make it pop. Because unfortunately, blacks are really hard to highlight. Sort of like dark reds and such. But unless you're willing to go like the exact extreme opposite. But I just don't think that works with faces. Faces, you have to be very subtle. Especially, so it's hard to keep the subtlety as well as create that dimensionality, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So that's just something I want to kind of touch on. I did miss these guys. These are the Eliminators. These came out recently, and this time I actually tried a quartered color scheme on them. So they're slightly quartered here in how they're colored, and I guess you can kind of see it more towards the back how quartered it is, because you have the greens on the opposite ends, or the blacks. And then I tried to go for more of like an urban color camo for it with some white touch-up just to make it a little bit more crisp. This one I tried to not be so kind of heavy on the burnishing, because these guys have the cloaks, which are supposed to protect their armor plates. So it prevents a lot of the kind of the general wear and tear that most Marines would suffer in the field. So I was just trying to go for that, and kind of do more kind of edge highlighting and to kind of create the tones instead of just doing straight burnishing and using a lot of different tonal shifts. So less gradients, more just direct dimensional shaping with the tonal highlights. So now we're going to move on here. These are the Assault Intercessors from the Indominus box. They have obviously been modified slightly, with the Sergeant here particularly taking, I believe he is a Salamander's upgrade kit for the Primaris, as well as a Thunderhammer. And these guys were told to me that the client wanted these guys to be more reminiscent of the final company. What is it? It's not the 7th company. I believe it's the 6th. It's the 6th or 7th company, the one where the initiates first move into after they are scouts. And the orange was their heraldry on that, orange and red. So I really tried to play around with that with these guys, and it actually kind of works. Interestingly enough, I used more gold in them because what I was just talking about. I feel like the Primaris is kind of like a second life to the legions. So the Salamanders see them as a boon, and I believe it kind of shows through in the heraldry. There's kind of like this youngness to them, and it kind of reminisces of like the old Salamanders legions. So that's something I really wanted to kind of play with here. And again, the subtle tonal shifts on the faces for the black skin, because their skin is onyx and their eyes are red due to the atmospherics on on Nocturne, or Prometheus. I get that confused all the time. Eradicators here. These guys are doing the exact same thing as I was talking before, where the support units kind of have this inverted color scheme, where the green is the secondary to the black. And these guys I thought came out really, really nice. Client was very happy with them. They kind of very striking on the tabletop, especially when you compare them next to just the other Marines in the green. They're very interesting. And again, they're not decaled or based at the moment. That is one of the last things that I'm going to come around to doing as soon as I finish painting all of them. Like I said, we're about 70% through the models right now. So we're making some good headway. But yeah, that's the Eradicators. Moving over here to the Blade Guard veterans. And this is something I decided to play around with a little bit more. Wanted to kind of play around with this half color scheme because of the fact that we're going for more of a 30K aesthetic, and the chapters in the legions all had different color schemes and different heraldries that they incorporated into them. So I kind of wanted to highlight that by trying with these specialist units all these different types of colors and such, and obviously the swords being flamed, or having flame, looks like they're on fire. They're very hot. I was going for that kind of aesthetic. And then the whites, I think, really made them pop. So that was kind of something I was playing around with, the fact that they're veterans. And white tends to be color veterancy within the ranks of the Adeptus Astartes. So over here, I showed you the Intercessors. And these guys as well. Let me show you these guys. Yeah, these are the H2 characters. So I showed this one on camera before, being painted. This is him finished. But this is the Praetor. And the Praetor with the Thunderhammer Storm Shield. And I believe these are old-fashioned Forge World weapons. But, yeah, he came out real nice. He's real hot. His weapons are really, really hot. But, yeah, he's not decaled right now. He's base, but that's because he has a little base here. I think I might still go over and do some texturing with that on that base, because I like it, but it's just it's a little bland. But yeah, and obviously Adrax Agatone, talked about him before. This is him in all his glory once again. He came out real nice, more of a burnished gold for that, kind of showing the age and the use of it. And there's a little bit of object source lighting at the bottom here for the heat of those flames. Now, this is one that I kind of went through with a little bit, had a lot of fun with. This is the Salamander's Librarian, and I was kind of going with I'm playing with the lighting effects, obviously, for the energy, but I was also kind of playing around with these, yes, hello, cat. I was also playing around with using segmented plating here. So the green coming through with that blue, and I think it really came out real nice. And I tried to play around with a lot of darker tones too to kind of make those the lighting pop more. But yeah, he's just an overall very cool model. It should be said though that he's on a tiny little base, the base that he came with, and that base is just so small. And I don't know why, but I think it's because of the size of the base and just the fact that we're now on 35 millimeters. But that makes a tremendous difference in just how he kind of matches up. Like, look at this, look at this, look at this. He looks teeny. He looks like a tiny, tiny Marine next to Adrax. And yes, Adrax is standing on some stones. Adrax is in Gravis plate armor. But, I mean, look at that. I mean, even next to this guy. And they're supposedly both legions. Again, Terminator plates. But let's put them next to these guys. Intercessors. Hello, cat. I mean, there's just something to be said about like the fact that like that base size just for some reason just affects the overall sighting. And seeing how everything is becoming a new standardized base size, I was talking with a client about this, and he is in complete agreement with me that we're going to actually just do some rebasing on some of these models to kind of really give them a little bit more gravitas on the table. Plus, it also helps with aura effects too, because you lose access to aura effects when you're out of range. I don't believe that it's necessarily accurate in terms of the rules anymore, because I believe they say that you're supposed to use the base that they come with, and you can't modify the base in any way. But at the same time, this is a Marine, and I believe 35 mil is the correct sizing for Marines, so that would be an interesting, kind of debate to have, apart from, like, ITC and stuff, because I understand that that's just the overall statement for ITC, but if we were going to go in just kind of a general kind of discussion about what Marines should be 35 mil, or they should be 28 mil base, that makes a big difference. So, finally, let's come here to the centerpiece of the army. And the centerpiece of the army right here is this. This was the first model I painted for him, apart from those fire drakes. But this was the one of the first models I painted for him, and kind of to kind of give him like an idea of like what it was going to look like. But this is the Storm Raven, and obviously we did some experimentation with the down there with the lava effects to kind of first form the concept of like what the bases were going to look like, and was that going to be too gaudy, or is that really going to work with the overall aesthetic of the Salamanders? And I think it does work. But yeah, I'm playing around with energy effects here with the multi-melts and the plasma cannons, and just playing around with texturing on the model itself. Playing around with like kind of tribal markings, because I see the Salamanders kind of being more tribalistic and kind of seeing their vehicles as more taking on animalistic kind of personalities and traits, and obviously giving it a name in here, the Star of Dawn. And yeah, I mean, they're just very happy with how this one came out. The client was very excited about it too. Even tried a little texturing over there with like the Drake skin and such. Not sure how I feel about it, but I think it turned out successful, but I could definitely go back and do a little bit more with that. Again, playing around with the tribalistic markings. But this was kind of the centerpiece and kind of started this whole project, basically. He just kind of wanted to see what I would do with the Salamanders, and after seeing it, he was really inspired to want to go forward with the project and kind of the commission work entirely. So this was the Salamanders. This is what we have, This was the overall showcase of the Salamanders, what is completed by the studio thus far. And like I said, this is not the entirety of the army. There's still some percentage, lower percentage of models that still need to be painted, based, and such. But this is what we have so far, and we are definitely getting close to the finish line with this army. So this army is be coming up here soon, and hopefully it'll be coming up on the channel real soon. Something I do want to mention, though, before I kind of finish everything up here, is we are kind of starting our own crusade here. Beginning the process of doing all the stuff for it, and yeah, we're just kind of starting out the. I'm gonna work on making some trailers and stuff. We're really gonna put a lot of effort into this one. But this is just kind of one of the pieces we were using for one of the missions the other night. So this is what we're gonna get into, more of this kind of stuff. And our plan is to kind of do some streaming on YouTube here. So if you guys want to kind of follow, we're going to try to do them on Saturdays. Probably around the 4 to 5 p.m.-ish mark. But that's kind of the plan going forward. Is to kind of do that. Schedules permitting and such. But, yeah, we want to do more Crusade stuff. We want to do more narrative-themed stuff on the channel. And we definitely want to have more kind of a consistent schedule. And, let us know, guys, what you guys think about, how many videos you'd like to see from us, because we're going to try to do, I think the eventual goal is want to do 2 per week, but right now, I think we're kind of at the 1 per month or 2 per month kind of thing, so I'm going to try to, get that going, and try to get that going where we're not just going to be 1 per week or whatever, 1 per month, so try to get it up to 2 per month, hopefully more, schedules permitting and such. But yeah, we're going to start putting out more content, and like I said, we're going to start streaming it. Hopefully streaming on Twitch, But I gotta get all that figured out. We're actually working on making a rig so we have like a overhead camera to go with, and I'm also working on some general kind of overlays for like templating for like the images and stuff for the stream. So I'm working on that, but we're gonna get YouTube Live going. So that's the plan, is to kind of get some games going, and I think we're gonna try to get one down here done within the next 2 weeks here. But the first video for the Crusade should be coming out here shortly. I'm working on it right now. I'm working on editing right now. We weren't able to stream it, but like I said, we're just going to make a video of it, and I'm going to do all the stuff for it and make all the bells and whistles for it. So it should be coming out here shortly. So stay tuned for that, guys. Just want to say thank you all for watching. Thank you all for getting to this point. You know, I really appreciate coming around to the channel, checking us out. I really appreciate you sticking around this long in the video. But yeah, if you like what you see here, you know, if you want to help the channel out, you know, please give us a like, please subscribe to us. You know, just anything that YouTube algorithm says, you know, that really help us, you know, kind of grow and kind of establish kind of what you guys like and what more content you'd like us to make. You know, I really appreciate you guys a lot, and you know, thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.